I'm Cody, and I'm a grateful member of this community. A little bit about myself is I moved here from Florida when I was in high school, and I'm like on a journey to figure out like who I am, since I've been sober. It's been painful, but also very rewarding. Getting sober, I was very uncomfortable when I started to look at myself and see who I was, and then now I'm actually like, as I peel back the layers of who I am, I'm starting to I'm just enjoying that process. I grew up in Northwest Florida, so it's like very, very southern where I grew up, and single parent household. Knew I was gay at a very early age, so being like this hiding and lying was very much a part of who I was. Escape became a part of who I was, even though I wasn't aware of it at the time. My mother ruled with an iron fist, so I just learned to lie and to protect myself, and that led to like a very rebellious, I would say, part of myself, because that part of myself is very much still in there. Coming out was really difficult, so when I became old enough to kind of do what I wanted, I took full advantage of that, and I escaped, I ran away. Well, I started using when I was in high school, but it was like kind of what everyone was doing, just smoking weed and like drinking when it was around, nothing too crazy. Looking back, like sex was definitely a big part of that, just seeking it out, and the internet was new, so like that was very exciting, and like the porn. So those parts of myself were big in when I was forming who I was in my escape, because those were my coping skills. And so when I moved to California, that is exactly what I rooted myself in. My relationships were based around getting high, having sex, partying. When I was in high school, I would take trips to California on the weekends, and I would be flying to different cities, just kind of living this double life. So when I ran away, it wasn't necessarily a surprise. I just kind of threw it on my parents, like, oh, I'm going to move to California. But they had no idea that I was coming out here recreationally. I would just say that I was working, or I was out with friends. I did have a job in Florida that I would work, and I would go to some of my classes during the week, so it kind of looked like they wanted to believe everything that I was saying, even though, look, I know that they knew something was up. I don't think that they were worried about the drinking or the using drugs. They were more concerned about just something was off. And they didn't really want to know what was going on with me. They just wanted to believe everything was all right. Being young and having money in your pocket and doing all these things, I had this ego of like, I'm doing great. I was obviously just a hurt kid who like never, like didn't feel close to my family, didn't feel like loved. When I was in Florida, the pill mills were coming up. So I would say that drugs were really introduced then. There wasn't a pill or something that I wouldn't try. If it was there, I would take it. I was familiar with drugs. When I moved to California, it was actually kind of like they were taken away because I didn't really know anybody. It would be like Coke when you go to the bar, or like alcohol was my primary drug because it was accessible, and weed. The progression of my disease was of the alcoholic nature through my 20s. And what really took me out was the crystal meth. I had probably done crystal meth through the years. I knew I liked uppers at this point. Like, it was my preferred, like when I did Coke, I would like, if someone had to really look forward to it, but I never really like sought it out. I had taken Adderall from like a friend like a few times, so I know that I like the stimulant feeling, and maybe like the crystal meth here and there, and it just stuck out of my memory. But when I met the dealer who had the crystal meth, and I had the car, and it's like everything kind of lined up, I could use how I wanted to. That's where things kind of like really went dark. That was in my late 20s. So I had a passion for music. I had some connections at the time. I really thought things were like lining up for me. Like I said, I had like money, I was like escorting. I had no skills, a lot of passion, and no discipline. So it was kind of like a recipe for disaster. I had opportunities, but I always squandered them because I always would have another opportunity, and the drinking would always get in the way of it. I got a job working with a comedian friend of mine, and I thought that that was going to be kind of like my way in. Well, I don't know what could have happened if I wasn't totally sick with my alcoholism. All of my 20s are pretty much like an alcoholic blur. There's a lot of really high highs. Like I got to do some really amazing traveling with my friend, my comedian friend. I got to do a lot of fun things, but then also I would have these like awful lows, all caused by my alcoholism, which eventually, just like bad situations, dangerous situations, I was getting very like depressed, and I didn't know how to stop or what was wrong with me. I turned to like psychiatry, I turned to like therapy. I tried to do everything I could. I did like a rehab stint. I gave AA what I thought was a solid try. And it's just like nothing was really working. The consequences start coming on into my story where I'm not working. I can't be trusted. I fucked up a lot there. Was getting arrested, DUI. And I was like, it was starting to get ugly. When I took that first hit of crystal meth, it was like my world was like, I could breathe. I was like relaxed. I felt like, not only like I just felt like how I wanted to experience life. That doesn't last for very long. It's not sustainable. I started using intravenously, and like it became about sex, as the gays call it. It's like the P&P, it was like sex and meth. I would tell myself that I was sober just because I had stopped using before I went into work, but like I hadn't slept. I thought people were talking about me. I'm like in psychosis, like very paranoid, like I'm not doing a good job. The entanglement of meth and sex and intravenous use is so hard to escape. How anyone gets off of that is like seriously an act of God. I just couldn't see a way out. My yets were becoming my reality. After I caught a case, I ended up needing Beit T'Shuvah, and Beit T'Shuvah is the one place where it could like meet all of my needs. I had like legal issues, and they're like, we can help you with that. And I was like, my legal issue also requires me to be under observation of a psychiatrist and counseling for the next 18 months. And they're like, okay, we got you. I'm like, well, my living situation is not great. The housing that I needed was there too. I don't have any passion or direction in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. We can help you narrow that down, like through the few trips to rehab that I went to, I really looked up to and admired the counselors that I had. And these clinicians, these professional people, I was like, that is something that I would like to do. I like to help people. I like hearing their stories and sharing what I perceived as like this awful human experience that I've created for myself, being able to use that to help someone. It's like, that's the best thing that could possibly happen. From where I was, Beit T'Shuvah has provided every aspect of healing that I could have possibly needed in my journey. I don't know, all I could say is that I was willing, and I took advantage of it. In a good way, but also not in a good way. Like, I took advantage of it and I used it. I was like, oh, Beit T'Shuvah, let me come back if I relapse. And then so like I did that, and it was a huge learning experience. I never want to go back to the way that felt. I got hired as a PF, and then I was promoted to PF supervisor. I did that for about 9 months, and I applied for an admissions job, and now that's where I work. Being in this role is exciting and heartwarming for me. I get to share what I love about Beit T'Shuvah and how it works with me, and that authenticity is translated when I talk to people. I'm so passionate about this place. I love it, and if you're willing to show up and you can get through the door, there's just so much growth that can happen here, regardless of what like the outcome is or what we think we want. Just being here can do so much for someone, and I'm just so happy to pick up that phone and just listen to about what someone's going through, because it reminds me of where I came from, and I can give them hope that things are going to be all right. What makes Beit T'Shuvah different is its relentless commitment to raise people up. The clients, the community, if it wasn't for the donors or what this place has provided, I don't know what my life would look like. I don't think I would have had a fair shot in recovery or getting my life together. So thank you. You know, I don't operate from a place of insecurity because of the donors, the stability and safeness that this place has provided that I haven't experienced in my life. So just thank you.